Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and the guys are all here, or as Damon said, the gang's all here. Hello, gang.
That's all the games.
All the signs you got. For people who are listening, all you hear is this slapping of hands, and Damon is doing gang signs. This is my favorite gang sign, just the peace sign.
Yeah,
How
I do
you?
that. The
uh,
deuces.
Right, right. How you doing, Damon?
Doing great. Coming to you live from New Orleans,
All right, Nolans.
where my dear friends Steve and Dorothy Capers, who are responsible for Martha's Vineyard Comedy Fest,
Hmm.
they have invited us to the coronation, the conclusion of the Renaissance tour. So we're going to see Beyonce tomorrow.
Oh, how great is that? That's
Yeah,
awesome. That
yeah.
is really pretty awesome. What do you have silver to wear?
Aha, ha 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 ha. I'm not doing silver. Right,
Oh,
I'm not a Virgo. We were with Sid, the entertainer, yesterday. He had his book event in Chicago. I'm say this right quickly, and so he said we were leaving because we had a flight. We had to leave the event. He's like, "Where y'all going?" I said, "Juanita, like we're going to see Beyonce." She did this dance. So Sid looked at me and said, "What's your going to see Beyonce move?" I'm like, "I ain't got no Beyonce move, and I don't have anything silver."
Damon, you can't be that kind of guy. You're not that kind of guy. We're not asking you to dress like a girl. Just put a little silver to the outfit.
It's gonna be silverish. How about that? I got some gray jeans.
Oh, you're such a guy. Hey, Cameron, how are you?
Oh, I'm feeling well. Feeling well.
I hope you are better than you sound. And the man holding everything up there. Hello, Med. How are you?
Oh gosh, that one was hurting. Oh, I was waiting for Damon to shut up. Oh my God, my my shoulder was killing me. Woo!
Aw.
Well,
Woo!
I refuse to put my arms up when you're talking.
Turn about fair play there. Okay.
Oh yeah,
All
that's
right.
true.
Let's
That's
uh
true.
let's keep it moving. Um,
Everyone's just throwing out shots today.
I have a
Hey, look
question
here,
of the
massive rant ready
day.
to go.
I have a question, but I think I might want to change it as a result of Damon's response talking about the Renaissance tour. I think it bears investigation. So let's talk about where you guys are. How's the weather there in New Orleans?
It's 80s and slightly humid, so it's beautiful. Coming from Chicago, where the leaves are starting to fall already.
It was 101 degrees on the first day of fall here in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Wow.
Whoa,
You know,
whoa, whoa.
we had a nice drop down into the 90s, and then it sprang up, and it was in the hundreds, and now it's back down to it's crazy. It just doesn't know what it wants to do. How about Chicago? Still a little chilly there, Cameron?
There was some thunder and some intense downpours yesterday, like stretching into the night, but feels really nice out there today.
It feels like fall.
No, feels like summer.
Oh, okay, okay. Sounded like fall to me. All right, and Med, how about where you are?
You know what? Fall has broken.
Fall
It's
has
come in
broken.
here.
Okay, all right.
Waking up it's 58 degrees and not 95 is a wonderful thing.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but hopefully soon come, soon come. All right,
Mm.
so let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. This is our Monday through Friday newsletter in which we seek to super serve the African American community with the stories that we do for and about Black people. Cameron Riley is one of our contributors, and in terms of politics and things that Cameron covers. Cameron, what are you looking at today?
Oh, today we're looking at the conclusion of the 2023 Congressional Black Caucus Phoenix Awards. That was
And you said
last
you called it
Saturday.
conclusion. You called it conclusion. Was it a long term or was it just the end of the Congressional Black Caucus?
It's the awards is like the culmination of their season, where they kind of just like celebrate a bunch of different people, and they fundraise as well as like have a massive gathering,
So,
a
but
massive
when you say
celebration.
conclusion, it sounded like it's for days, like the Congressional Black Caucus is.
Oh,
Was it a
no.
days-long event?
No. The Phoenix Awards is just a singular event on a
So it's
singular
Saturday
day.
night. That's how they closed it up.
That's how they close out their legislative season.
Got it.
But isn't that how they wrap up the conference? Don't they have the conference, the ALC conference, the ALC conference, something like that?
So
At the end of that.
there's like the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, and then there's like the Congressional
52nd
Black
annual.
Caucus, but the Phoenix Awards themselves is put on by the 58 members of the Congressional Black Caucus.
And it is like a 4 or 5 day event in which they have conferences, they have roundtable discussions, they have a lot of parties, and a number of people in the African American community, especially in political fields, are invited to participate and to have contact not only with members of the Congressional Black Caucus, which is under the leadership currently of Stephen Horsford, who is a congressman from Nevada, but just about every other Black congressperson, as well as a number of businesses. And so it is a gathering of sort, but this was the culmination of it, the Phoenix Awards. And so, Khameron, tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you or anyone out there wants to get to know, your federal Black elected officials at the national level, kind of all in one place, I would definitely give it a watch. They gave out the Cultural Icon Awards to legendary MC Light and rapper LL Cool J. The awards were sort of officiated by Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden, who is rumored to have mixed up the Phoenix Award speech with the Latino Caucus speech, but that's neither here nor there. Maybe it should be here, and that's why I'm a little transfixed. I mean, as a senior citizen, should we really be holding him that much accountable, or should we just say, "Oh, that's just old Joe"? Not too sure. But the Phoenix Awards themselves were given to Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass for her actions taken to fight homelessness, and for White House Minority Leader Representative Hakeem Jeffries for their contributions to society as a whole, while also uplifting the Black community.
And let us not forget the press secretary for the president.
That would be
Corinne Jean-Pierre.
Of course.
And you're certainly right. There are always a lot of parties when it comes to that CBC. I like to think of it as an upscale legislative freaknik. But anyway, our elected officials know how to party. Trust me when I tell you.
Yeah.
But they work hard.
And Karen Bass came back.
No phones allowed.
I gotta say, what happens there does not necessarily stay there.
Right. Blackmail photos.
Karen Bass came back amongst her former colleagues. She was a long-term congresswoman from California before she retired from there to run for mayor of Los Angeles, and doing a great job. But there are a lot of stars and a lot of folks there, and it was a great opportunity for many people to reset, if you will, for the fall. The president and the vice president's campaign to get with Black folks, remind them, who's been on their side for the last 3 to 4 years, and where they're going from here. And the vice president, from what I understand, got a warm round of applause. And despite a little kerfuffle by the president, things did end up pretty well.
A little what?
Kerfuffle.
Open up his speech with "Que pasa?" What? Like, who are you talking to?
He might have thought he was talking to the Afro-Latinos. I don't know.
He also,
well, you can't. I guess you can't put that on him if it was on the teleprompter, though.
and sadly, it might not have been. He, could have gone a little off script, but you're right. If it's, maybe somebody, just kidding around and forgot to erase, and put that up there. But it seems like heads should roll if they did do that, and
Oh man.
and misidentify LL Cool J and go a little bit off script. But his heart is in the right place and he needs us. So, what more can you say? What more can you say? All right.
Yeah, let's just excuse our 80-something-year-old grandpa in the
Papa.
room
Just
for all that he
Papa.
says.
Oh, it's just
His heart's in the right place.
Oh,
I think we need to, and this is just my opinion. I know it's fodder, and it really kick up next week when the nighttime talk shows return. But if we keep focusing on the mistakes that he makes, and we get away from what he is doing for the good, it's going to distract a lot of people, especially the young Black people that they need to vote for him, and to talk to them about the issues such as eliminating student loan debt, and making sure that the unemployment for Blacks still stays very much lower than it was in the last administration. Talking about these things instead of saying, there's Papa, he effed up again. I mean, we just can't,
right.
because it only. And I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be name checked on some of this stuff, but he also has done enough that we can't allow ourselves to become distracted, and allow other more conservative media to focus on that.
yeah,
I think
no.
I saw Reverend Al Sharpton talk about that. He's like, look, he's like Trump was what, 3 years younger than him?
Hmm.
2 or 3 years younger than him.
He's 77 and Biden is 80.
He's like, so what's the point? What's the problem? You know what I'm saying? And that's what he's like. He needs to embrace his age on the campaign trail. Yeah, I'm 80, and
Right.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
like hiding from it, he needs to embrace it, because if he hides from it, more people will speak on it. So I kind of agree at this point. You need to go ahead and embrace your age, President Biden, because everyone's going to continue to talk about it.
I mean, if you're going to talk about mistakes made, I mean, we can talk about Donald Trump making a
Of course.
speech last week and talking about, what's going to happen when we go into World War II. And forgetting the fact that, we did it, that our ancestors did it 80 years ago. They were in World War II. Or the fact that he was still running against Barack Obama, not against Joe Biden. So, okay, so equally
Domed.
disabled, equally disabled in some of their memories and faulty memories and things like that.
That should be Joe's campaign slogan. Like, he'll be this old soon too. That's what he should say. So you might as well stick with me, because if he'll be this age if he gets in. So but it's damned if we do and it's damned if we don't. Because for us to try not to dwell on it and say we can't keep doing it when he makes mistakes. But if he keeps making mistakes, let's
talk about
get
Joe
Kamala
Biden.
on in there.
Let's talk about Joe Biden making history. And
Let's do that.
That is his travel to Michigan, where for the very first time a sitting president of the United States marched with Union strikers. And that was that set about a profound picture that he's going to be putting out there a lot to remind people that Joe Biden is for the working man or working woman. No one has ever done that, and some people are in favor of it. Other people say that is not the role for a president. That he should maintain some centrality in all of this, and not. But he needs the union vote, and this one, and pointing out where the fat cats are wrong in all of the money that they've gotten and not sharing it with the workers. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, the lines between the public and the private sector are so clearly drawn now. There is no neutrality between either or. Likewise, the role that the public sector, the government, plays in holding the private sector accountable or regulating what how the private sector infringes upon labor rights has become very clear, especially with regards to partisan views like Democrats and Republicans. Republicans who want a small, less regulatory government, versus Democrats who want a very large, very well-funded, a very regulatory government. So, in this March, Joe Biden is saying that, hey, I'm, true blue. I'm with the people. I'm with the working class. And you're going to see more of this in 2024. You're going to see a president who will stand with you and support you and your right to work.
And the right to work is a big thing. I mean, if you think about the fact that Donald Trump is going to be there in a day, and he is going to talk to and try to, and the fact that he kind of goosed President Biden into doing this, because Donald Trump announced before Joe Biden did that he was going to speak to them, but it's his way of getting out of the debate that he, he doesn't think that, he deems it as necessary to do anything since he's so far ahead in the Republican polls. But he is, the same guy that told the workers in Michigan, you need to get your act together, or else we'll take these jobs away from you and send them to the southern states, and if not to the southern states, Mexico is waiting. That's not the kind of support that they're looking for. So President Biden went way over to the right or to the left rather, and is supporting them. And check this out, Senator Tim Scott, the highest ranking Black Republican candidate right now, said that they should be fired for going on strike. So with those kinds of statements, I think who else is out there who's going to stand as Joe Biden did and I say this as a child of union workers. So I'm very pro-union. I don't make any claims otherwise. As a matter of fact, I should have put on my Chicago Teachers Union t-shirt today. But just in terms of what this looks like and how do you think this could be enough to carry the union vote? He didn't go out and march with the writers. He did not go out and march with the actors, but he is, going to the middle of America, to a very important state, Michigan, and march with them. So it is a calculated move on his part. But it is also a necessary one, I think.
Yeah, he could never have gone out there in Hollywood and marched with them. That would have, they would have lit into him, because Hollywood is so divisive when it comes to politics anyways.
Yeah.
He couldn't go out there. But middle class America, hardworking Americans, as they look at the auto workers, that's something completely different. That's a totally different mindset. They don't look at Hollywood people who are hardworking people as hardworking people. But that middle America, they definitely look at it as such. And President Trump has put it out there that he thinks that the union president has messed up this whole thing. So he's completely been on the side of the manufacturers.
Well, actually, Biden has some equity with the manufacturers as well, because as you know, as vice president, they rescued the entire auto industry. So it wasn't a real gamble for him to not have their support, because they should remember at least that took place. It's of course a smart move to show yourself as a backing unions and backing being a jobs first president in this economy with the inflation and things that are about to take place. The demands of the auto workers, they seem like they are maybe reaching as far as they can so they can settle lower, because to look at 40% in 4 years of a hike is what I believe their increase they were asking for over the next 4 years is kind of lofty. But what they also wanted to do is maintain careers versus jobs at the auto industry, as far as, now most of them try to make you independent contractors or part-time workers. And they said when they got into the industry, you could work 30 years and you get a pension and have retirement. So they're not just looking out for themselves, they're looking out for those workers behind them. And that's something any president would be smart to definitely stand with.
And Absolutely. One of the things, Damon, I will say, and I don't necessarily agree that it's too lofty, that because when you think about the amount of bonuses that the heads of these companies have received compared to the cost of living increases, one guy said, one worker was interviewed on the line and said he's making less today than he was making 20 years ago when he started. And so you think about the millions of dollars that are going into as bonuses for these people who got money. The heads of these companies, of these auto manufacturers, got money from the government during COVID in order to keep their businesses aloft. And there was no compensation or for the guys and women who were on the line.
And that's what Biden said. He basically said that. He's like, we bailed you out. We gave you money during COVID. It's time to pay up and take care of your people.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that it is time for us to move on. Okay, I get the sign. And let's move to what's really going on. And I'm not going to change the question, although Damon really did kind of push me in that direction. I want to know so I'll tell you what it was later. This is, we recently observed National Ancestor Appreciation Day. National Ancestor Appreciation Day. So I'd like to know, who is that ancestor or member of your family that you want to acknowledge or shout out, and why? What did they do that deserves your giving them a shout out or an acknowledgement of sorts? It doesn't necessarily have to have been the first. It just could have been, the first person in your family to buy a house. It could have been, the first person or the last person to do such and such a thing, but that made a difference in your life and your family's lives.
I can start. My Aunt Grace, who has left us many years ago in Indianapolis, I want to shout her out because she was the matriarch of our family. And we lived with her, me and my two siblings, for an entire school year while my mother got us together.
Okay.
But Aunt Grace took us in. She taught us valuable lessons. I can remember some of her sayings, like, "I will beat the cowboy stew out of you."
Those were her words, the cowboy stew.
"I'll beat the cowboy stew out of you." But the thought of that, considering we didn't even have stew, was a scary proposition.
How old were
she
you?
could beat something out of me that didn't even go in me. So that's got to be quite a beating. I better get my act together. So shouts out to Aunt Grace. Much love. May you hear me in the universe because you were there for us.
And Med asked a great question. How old were you when you did go to live with Aunt Grace?
Second grade. I spent second grade in Indianapolis. Yeah, so that was the age when somebody could scare you with a statement like,
very much so.
And every once in a while, we saw her gun laying around, so we knew that Aunt Grace was feisty. She worked during the day, but at night she cooked for like a speakeasy. Cool. And she drove this drop top blue Electra 225 with white interior.
Not a convertible.
She was a pistol, I tell you. Shouts out to Aunt Grace.
Damon, that sounds
literally
like a great
and figuratively.
Movie.
She's a movie character. She would have been, yes.
Yeah, you're drawing a great picture for us. I really like that. Yeah, that's a good deal. What about you, Khameron?
The person who's coming to mind right now is my godfather.
You had a real godfather?
Yeah, his name is Dr. Michael Pierce. He was one of the first Black dentists to set up shop in Chicago. He was my father's godfather. Very stoic, very serious all the time. Never even seen him laugh type of dude. Very no nonsense, but he was kind of one of those types who would just sit you down and kind of like tell you the truth about the world, but then also just leave you inspired with like a sense of agency and an ability to just to enact positive change. If you were, any sort of like meek or shy around him, he had a way of just scaring the bejesus out of you. I remember when I first
out of you.
Yeah. I remember when I first met him, and my dad told me, "Hey, you know, when you meet this guy, you really need to speak up." And I was like, "Okay." And so I met him, and I was like, "Hi." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, oh, "Okay."
Did your dad like have you extend your hand out to him and say
Yeah,
hello?
yeah, me like a seven hand up, like a firm handshake. You know, the guy just like gripped my hand in the jaws of life, and I was like, "Yes, sir." You know, but man, I mean, very intelligent dude. Really cemented his place in the city and in the field of dentistry. And may he rest well.
That is so cool. That's a great story too. I love
And it's
these.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that a dentist didn't laugh or smile. Did he have a good?
Not at all.
Would it be funny if he had a tooth missing that whole time?
Or two. As we go to Med for his thoughts, I will remind people that we are looking at National Ancestor Appreciation Day. Who is that ancestor, a member of your family that you want to acknowledge or shout out, and why? So folks hopefully gathering with their suggestions. Med, do you have one?
Yeah, I'll go with somebody that's real close. My Aunt Winsome, who lives, real close by. The tricky thing was that when I met her, I didn't know she was my aunt. I didn't know she was my relative. So how it came to be is my son
you guys are blood related.
We're blood related. Didn't know. And so when my son was born, we needed somebody to kind of look after him when my wife went back to work and everything like that. And so I picked another relative, and my dad was like, "Oh, no. She too old. Go drop him off at Winsome's house." I'm like, who's that? He's like, it's and he said it's Junior's sister. Now I'm thinking about his cousin Junior. I'm just like, oh, okay, so it's your cousin. Okay, cool. So we went to her house and she started talking about, she was saying another name. Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
She was saying Rodney. So Rodney this, Rodney that, talking to me, talking to my wife, and I'm just like, I had to stop her. I'm like,
no idea who you're talking about.
Who's Rodney? She was like, your father. And I'm like, I was like, wait, what? I was like, my biological father's name is Jawara. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, oh yeah, but we call him Rodney. And I'm just like,
I guess I can see that. Huh?
I have never heard him be called Rodney ever in my life.
Right. So
I was like, so wait, you were like my aunt, like you my blood aunt, like we related for real. She's like, yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, take the baby, we good. My wife was like, wait, time out. my wife had questions. She said, wait a minute. I was like, look, when it comes to my dad, I don't know. I have no clue. And come to find out, like she had kids, and they came down and visited. I'm like, oh, y'all my cousins? And one of the cousins said, yeah, I met you years ago at your dad's house. I didn't know who the heck you were. And when I went home, she said, oh, that must be Ahmed. He must be visiting. And that was the last time I saw them when we were like 10 or 11.
Wow.
So like now I have a whole bunch of cousins that we're actually really close to now. They have kids, and our kids are great buddies and stuff like that. So it's very fascinating.
So beyond being a great babysitter and perhaps a chronicler of family relationships, what else about Aunt Winsome that sticks out in your mind?
No, I mean, like she literally just helped us, take care of our son. You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those things where she made our lives so much easier, to the point where, like, for us, it's like, I call her now. I'm like, can you watch Blake? I could call her an hour before I leave the house. Can you watch Blake? Yeah, we here.
Right.
And he has a routine when he goes over there. He can go over there. He has his own room. He's good. Yeah. And we know he's good. We travel somewhere out the country or whatever, and we're away for a few days, he's good there. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just made our lives a whole lot easier when it comes to that.
Can you ask her and get back to us on how they got Rodney from Jawara?
There is a story for that. I do have the story. Real quick. Hold it up. Okay, here, real quick. I got you, Damon. Real quick story. The real quick story of this story is that in Jamaica, the birth certificate has to be taken care of at the post office in Jamaica.
Post office. Okay.
So when my dad was born, his uncle took the paperwork to the post office and gave them the wrong name.
Oh.
And so
right.
on his birth certificate, it said Rodney. So legally, he was Rodney.
Was it your Uncle Rodney that took your dad's?
And does your uncle have cable in his name right now?
So yeah, that's a story. Because when I called my dad, I'm like, "You go by Rodney?" "Oh yeah. That's my name." I'm like, "I'm your son. How do I
not know that?" Right.
This is Thank you, Dad. Appreciate it.
I love that name, Winsome. Let's go and see what we have. Sonia Maples on YouTube says, my paternal grandfather, he obtained for the 1,000 acres and made sure his 12 children had land when he died. All the land is still in the family. That is awesome. That is so cool. Good for you. And that
certainly beats the auntie at the speakeasy.
No, everybody has their own contribution to make to the family. Jacqueline on YouTube says, my mom, our matriarch, gone 5 years, held it down after my dad died in 78. And that is a something to laud her for as well. Yeah, that's really cool. I am looking at Dad's Gold Clothing on YouTube. I want to shout out my great aunt Zoe that raised my mom because my granny didn't have it together. And a lot of us can speak to that. Yeah.
Sometimes they don't, but sometimes people step up, you know?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like Winsome.
Like on Winsome. Yep.
And Grace.
Yeah.
Right.
And Grace's. So Yolanda, do we have others who are shouting out their families? TYO Dimples on YouTube says, great granddaddy WW2 veteran, that would be World War II veteran, per articles, saved 6 members of his group in Italy, lost a leg due to explosion. I have yet to get his medals per news articles on a gravestone. Still a project. Oh, wow. I love doing those stories about like the Tuskegee Airmen or those in World War I or World War II, even Vietnam War, who have performed so valiantly and did not get their just due or long delayed in getting their just due. That really is very, very powerful. Brian Scott, hey Brian on Facebook says, RIP Aunt Clara and Uncle Charles, they kept our family together financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Those are the ones. Those are the folks we're talking about. Yeah. Barbara Ferguson on YouTube, my mom and grandmother who raised 9 kids after my father left the family. They held it down and I miss them. RIP. I know you do. Mm-hmm. And probably stepping up to fill some big shoes there to fill, I would imagine.
Indeed.
Well.
Yes.
That's really powerful. I was thinking about my grandfather who was the first Black man to receive his PhD from the University of Kansas. So that's really powerful. But as Khameron was talking about, and an uncle who was a Black man who owned a pharmacy on the south side of Chicago. It was called Daly's Pharmacy, and it was what was that, 79th Street maybe? That's when I came of age. That's where I remember it being. And then as far as the person who took care of me the first few weeks of my life after my mother went back to work as a Chicago public school teacher, they gave me to our Aunt Margaret. And she had the soul and the patience of Job in dealing with the first child in my family. And every Monday was a living hell. She would never say that. She was a godly woman and would never say that, after this baby is passed around by all the adults in the family over the weekend. And then she had to come, they drop me off there. And she had to deal with me for that day and wanting to be held and pampered and goo-gooed and gagaed all over. So God bless Aunt Margaret, who lived to close to 100 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So very cool. Yolanda, Elise Patterson on YouTube, my great-grandmother. She raised my mother and 2 uncles after her daughter died. After I came along, she raised me, and she was an entrepreneur back in the 1950s. She owned a restaurant and beauty shop. Now, that's a great combination. Can get your head did and get fed. So that's
And a health code violation.
oh, and then there's that. we didn't have to worry about that back then, Cameron. Renita Bland on Facebook. My Aunt Frances is the family historian. She has a story for everything. She's a great cook and she's so funny unintentionally. She takes care of everyone still today. God bless Aunt Frances. That is awesome. That's awesome. But about that beauty shop and restaurant, oops, wrong. I put the wrong thing in that. Okay. Nobody eat the potatoes right now.
I would love to know the name of the shops.
Right? Val comedian on YouTube. My dad had three birthdays when he passed because back south they had the midwife filling in the date. Stephen Hill told that story on what he thought was his dad's birthday last week, and how he believes that it wasn't September, that his aunt told him that his dad's birthday was really in March. But differences in the way people change their dates, maybe to get into the army, but things like that changed. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
That's the funniest thing because my stepfather, the one who raised me, I will never forget as a child watching him and his mother argue about his birthday. I was sitting there like confused, and for years I didn't know what day it was. She said it was August 30th. He said no, I was born on the 31st, and I was sitting there as a child like, shouldn't she know? I was like, shouldn't she know? But my dad, on his birth certificate, it was the 31st, and so he was right. But I was just
technically he was, but she really was the one who was there.
She was there.
Yeah.
She was. I never knew what his birthday was. It was either the 30th or the 31st. I just said happy birthday on both days.
Wow. Stephen Hill also thinks that his dad may have changed his birthday because on the first date with his mom, he said her birthday was on this one day. He goes, "Oh, what a coincidence! My birthday is the next day," and he thought he was just trying to get in good with his mother. So there was still some confusion when his dad died as to when. Thank you guys for participating. I appreciate it. That was fun. The question that I was going to ask, gentlemen, if you're going to see Beyonce, or if you did go to see Beyonce, did you have a problem wearing silver and just adhering to her requests and her wishes? Because one of us is going and doesn't see the need to wear a little silver.
Go ahead and put a Raiders jersey on and go up in there and have a good time.
Hey man, as much as she charged for tickets, she gonna tell somebody now go out and buy an outfit. Come on now.
The wardrobe too, huh?
Beyonce's a business. She stimulates sectors of the economy.
Let's move on.
And make sure you mute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't get cussed out there, man.
I'll be mute the whole time.
I bet you will. Target has announced they're closing 9 of its stores in response to retail theft. The retail theft is now a $112 billion problem, according to the National Retail Federation report. The stores set to close, according to Target, are 1 in Harlem, 2 in Seattle, 3 near San Francisco and Oakland, and 3 in Portland. Nothing on the south side of Chicago. Okay.
They already closed that one.
They're gone.
So the one at 95th and Kedzie, is that gone?
That's still
gone.
That's still there. Yeah, and then there was one on 87th Street. Well, Chicago.
It was on like 115th and.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's gone. Okay. All eligible employees will be offered the opportunity to transfer to other Target locations. The decision to close stores after the company reported inventory shrinkage. Mostly the theft of merchandise would cut profits by $500 million. In 2022, profits took a $700 million hit from inventory shrinkage or theft. Wow, that is a damn shame.
That sounds like some of the employees are in on it because I mean, between that and self-checkout, but don't these retailers have insurance? I would think you should be able to insure.
That's what I was here.
Against your loss.
I still work in retail.
I'm wondering if it's become so bad that the insurance companies are not filing or not giving them the insurance for theft anymore. sort
You
of
were going
like
to say,
in
Cameron?
Florida.
Oh, I was gonna say I used to work in retail. I used to work in a FedEx office, and a couple of my employees definitely had like an ink and paper ring, like running out the back of the store. And it's not
And
like,
paper ring.
yeah, I mean, printer ink is
It's
expensive.
Oh,
expensive.
trust and believe. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
expensive, man.
Yeah. That's why
Um,
Shaq is making $1 million with just a
I'm talking. I'm
with a
just thinking
bucket
about
of ink.
that.
and then
Oh,
President
hiring the
goodness.
security
Biden,
too.
as we mentioned earlier, President Biden completed a historic visit to the Detroit picket lines today, a preview of next year's election, and underscored his longtime commitment to the worker-centric economy. And of course, visiting a day ahead of Donald Trump, as we said, who is going to talk to former and current members. This is going to be interesting to see how they work because I don't see uh, Donald Trump picking up a sign, holding up a sign the way Joe Biden did, putting his arm around a black woman who is a striker, and really conversing with the people and saying, "I feel your pain," as Joe Biden likes to do. Because if Donald Trump says it, who's going to believe it? But he faces consistently low polling numbers. It is just awful. The way
Yeah.
these numbers just keep falling precipitously, and and how are you going to stop this when you're in the midst of a campaign like this and you want to show your donors that we're moving on up, we're doing well,
Yeah.
and
Donors who only listen to poll numbers. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. Don't listen to the polls. Okay, all right, sure.
All right, Joe.
A judge has ruled that Donald Trump defrauded banks and insurers while building his real estate empire. A judge found that Trump and his adult sons liable for fraud, saying they provided false financial statements for roughly a decade and thus liable for fraud. He finds them that he committed this for years while building the real estate empire that catapulted him to fame and the White House. And you're saying, well, isn't this the case that the New York Attorney General is bringing against Donald Trump? And he is saying that this is a civil lawsuit by the New York Attorney General, found that the president deceived the banks, the insurers, and others by massively overvaluing his assets, exaggerating his net worth on paper, and used in making deals and securing finances. He ordered some of his business licenses be rescinded as punishment already, making it difficult or impossible for them to do business in New York. And he said the remaining issues that he did not address will now cross over into Attorney General Letitia James's case against Donald Trump, which is set to begin it's supposed to have an imminent start date. As well as how much Donald Trump and other defendants should be paying as a result of their lies and fraud.
Look,
I don't think he has any cash.
I don't think so either. He's not.
He doesn't have it. Right.
He ain't got it. Like you said, when you have to go ahead and get that bail money together, like something's up with that. With that cash that you have on hand, and it's not there.
Yeah.
But it just feels like when I hear you talk about that, Sybil, it feels like the American dream. Back then, it feels like every big company was built on the backs of middle America, on the backs of working America, and everyone that is below them gets the short end of the stick while they corruptly build their empires. I know we're focused on Trump, but I just feel like you could throw a stick at any one of these people who created their empires that you see today, and it's their story as well.
I was going to ask you, Damon, as a businessman, and certainly as one who's as proficient as you are in business, but also as learned as you are in the ways of doing business. Do you think that Donald Trump is alone, as Med said he's not?
Every man is inflated something. If you ask him,
I've got this much money.
Right, this much money. Have you seen the fish I caught?
Right.
I mean,
They call me Whopper. I know.
Yeah, this is really, really kind of reaching. We know that that he was corrupt and bogus. But I mean, if you give a person an opportunity to get a loan or a car loan, if they let you just fill in any amount for your income, okay, if this works, let's say that, but he has so much other corruption on top of it that makes this even more viable for them to go after it. But like I said, what man amongst us has not exaggerated at one time or another?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The former president's campaign has backtracked Monday on claims that he bought a firearm during a visit to a South Carolina gun company.
Oh, boy, social media getting them in trouble.
Oh my gosh! So his assistant Stephen Chung, I believe his name is, posted that the president bought this Glock, and then it was pointed out that doing so would have violated the federal law, given prohibitions on people under felony indictments, and certainly he is buying firearms. News reports indicated he went gun shopping with his good friend Marjorie Taylor Greene, examined weapons available for purchase, and he then posed with a special Trump edition of a Glock, a gun that features his photo on the handle and the words Trump 45 on the chamber. I'm going to buy one. I want to buy one, he said, after examining. Isn't Glock a great gun? And one of the salespeople told the former president that the Trump Glock was a top seller. This was posted on social media by this campaign spokesperson who wrote that he purchased the gun. Then he had to go back and, say, no,
never happened.
He did not actually make the purchase, and he deleted the video that he posted on Twitter.
There's nothing much more to say than he probably fired.
Yeah. No, he's probably going to be his vice presidential running mate now. I mean, he likes to exaggerate and just cover up.
I've never met
Speaking of that, who do we think will be Donald Trump's running mate? Isn't that a good question?
MGT or Marjorie Taylor Greene.
So you think Marjorie Taylor or Lauren Boebert, the vapor, the infamous vapor? I think the women are the most. I don't think it's going to be Nikki Haley, because she really wants to be president. But
and hasn't she gone after Trump too?
She has.
Yeah, so no, that's
sort
out.
of. Yeah,
it's out. She's out of it then.
Yeah.
But MTG, he loves anybody that loves him. So
yeah.
But I think if he did that, he wouldn't that would just put a nail in his
presidential coffin.
Yeah, absolutely. That would never work. Now, I mean, I know there's enough. I know she has a following, and I know the district she's in. Look,
she's never going to lose.
MTG is going to be in Congress until she dies. Okay, because the place where she comes from, they are all built like her. They're nuts. Okay, so she gonna be there, but the rest of America, even conservatives, know she's crazy. That wouldn't work if he was running for president. So no, I don't think MTG would be viable.
So Damon, you brought the question? What do you think?
I don't have a clue. That's why I asked.
It's very hard. It's very hard to gauge that. Would you go get Vivek? You know what I'm saying? Would you go get?
I don't even think it could be Ivanka anymore, because she's really she's been removed, or she's.
Well, what about Chris Christie? I think he's ambitious enough to be. He wants to be president, so he would be the vice president. So
I think that relationship is long.
He's killed him. Giuliani.
I thought about that, Giuliani.
Giuliani.
So you're gonna have two felons.
Hey, we just trying to stay out of jail at this point.
Okay.
We're trying to stay out of jail.
And
I need this.
I don't know. I don't know who would or who he would choose. That's a great question.
Kanye West.
Kanye would probably do it. He's crazy
enough.
I'm not sure if Tim Scott would run with him. I don't. Or maybe Vivek Ramaswamy. He is Trump Jr.
Yeah. And there's enough people. He's a strange guy, Cameron. But there's enough Americans that find him interesting and find what he's saying viable. So that would, in my mind, would kind of make sense. You'd still get a minority in there that could do some things. And he's not afraid to talk to anybody. He's on every show, he talks to everybody. So
he is not afraid, and we know it's not going to be DeSantis. So
No.
Ramaswamy might be
No.
the answer to it. I don't
Cool.
know. Check this out. This is a really interesting case. J.P. Morgan Chase, the mega company, has agreed to pay $75 million settlement money to
Who?
Jeffrey Epstein's
Oh.
Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case to the U.S. Virgin Islands. They agreed to make the $75 million payment to settle claims that the bank enabled the sex trafficking acts committed by the late financier, Jeffrey Epstein. They said that $55 million of the settlement will go towards local charities that provide assistance to victims of domestic abuse and trafficking and other crimes, as well as to enhance the capabilities of law enforcement. Another $10 million will be used to create a fund to provide mental health services for Epstein survivors, according to the Virgin Islands Department of Justice. The Virgin Islands, where he had an estate, sued J.P. Morgan last year, saying its investigation revealed the financial services giant enabled Epstein's recruiters to pay victims and was indispensable to the operation and concealment of what he was doing in the trafficking enterprise.
Wow.
And yet, there's no reparations come from J.P. Morgan for slavery.
No, but
And they were the financiers of the slave trade.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan, sure.
Yeah.
But it's a good start, and maybe that's the way that they do start. And let me
That
just
could set the precedent, maybe. Yeah.
they say and charging that they were complicit in Epstein's behavior. It did not raise any red flags to law enforcement or bank regulators about his being a high risk customer. Really interesting. Really interesting.
Okay.
And just as we close, a quick condolences to the family of former South African President Nelson Mandela. His 43-year-old granddaughter, Zuleika Mandela, has died of cancer at 43. The Mandela Foundation described her as a tireless activist for healthcare and justice. Diagnosed with breast cancer at 32, in remission when the cancer resurged last year. And they said she was valiant in her battle against cancer. So we are very, very sorry for that loss. Much too young, obviously. You don't bury your children. It's just not the way it should be. Let's move to a lighter topic, and this is entertainment. One of your own, Damon, is coming out with her memoir. It's out, actually. Leslie Jones's new memoir called Leslie Effin' Jones is described as a love letter to regular people just trying to make it day by day. She said her story is proof that if you fight for yourself, you can live a bigger life than you ever imagined. And why is the memoir called Leslie Effin' Jones? She said when she was starting out, she wanted just to be known as Leslie, like Madonna, like Whoopi. And the guy said, it's Whoopi Goldberg. So she said, well, we just know her as Leslie. And so he said, what is your last name? And she said, it's Jones. And so he said, what? And she said, it's Leslie Jones. He said, Leslie Effin' Jones. That's a great name. And so that's what she named her book. He said, that's a star's name right there. So good on him and good on her, Leslie Effin' Jones. And as I said, the book is out now. So check it out.
I can't wait to read that because
I know, because she's got a lot in there about coming of age at SNL at the age of 47 and what
47
she would not.
Started. Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell about the story when Deion Cole flirted with her when he was drunk, and then he stood her up, and she was mad at him, and so I booked them together, and Deion pretended to be sick on the flight the whole time.
David.
I need that story to be in the book. In fact, we were on our way to New Orleans, where I am right now. So,
Damon said, "You know what would be funny?
I got some extra footnotes you can add for the
for the paperback for sure."
Yeah.
Let's check out our daily inspiration. Now, I messed up yesterday and I gave the daily inspiration for the wrong day. So I'll give the one that I missed. Life will bring some troubling times, so we should have fun as often as possible. I think we
Yeah,
had some fun times and conversations and some laughter today. Thanks to you guys and Damon, always leading us in the laughter department. So I appreciate you all and keep up the great work. And we will see you all again soon. Have a great one. Go out there and be good to each other and have some fun. Go outside and play. Aloha.
yeah. Go watch all the Queen's Men.